Hi, and welcome to the fourth video for Module 7. In this video, we are going to implement the single view picker in our storyboard. And let's go ahead and add a button and a picker in the storyboard. In this case, we're going to use the plain old picker, not a date picker, of course, and we'll need a button as well. And we'll need an outlet to grab the picker's value and an action method for the button as we did before. We can go ahead and create those things now. Let's get the assistant editor up. And this is the interface, which looks like it's already set up some stuff. We want the single view controller. So we'll put an outlet for the button. Seems like a good place. We'll call it button. I'm sorry, an action. We'll call it. Don't need an outlet for the button. We need an action for the button. And we'll call it on button pressed. And the type is UI button. We'll use the touch up inside. Right, okay, so there's our action method for the button, and we'll need an outlet for the picker. We'll call it just picker. Okay. Now, the big change here from the date picker is that we have to populate the picker with data, and we have to give some code to say how to display that data. So for any picker that's not a date picker, you have to implement two things, and you can use an existing class or write your own class to do it. They're called a data source and a delegate. And the delegate describes how many components to the picker and how many rows in each component, and the data source has a method that will display a row of data in the picker. And we're going to let our this view controller implement those classes. So I'm going to add them here. UI picker view delegate and UI picker view data source will be classes that we're going to implement there. And we get an error because we've specified that this class is going to implement those things, and we haven't given the methods that it has to do that yet. So we'll get to that when we copy in some code. But that's why those errors are there. Also in the storyboard, we've got to indicate, we've got to hook up this picker object to those things. So I'm going to control drag from the picker to the view controller, and I'm going to specify, I'll do it again, that the view controller is the data source and delegate for this picker. What we have to do now is implement that code. We're actually done with the storyboard. Let's go to the view controller code, get rid of the assistant editor. I'm going to copy in a bunch of stuff from the book source code, and we'll explain it after we copy it. The first thing, we've already got our outlet. The first thing I'm going to get is an array of names called character names. That's going to be our data. So just an array of names from Star Wars. The other thing we need, the action method for the button. I've already stubbed it in, but I'm going to get the body of it from the code here. And most of it is an alert, which looks exactly like the alert code we had for the date picker. It says what we chose and has a button to make it go away. We'll use the selected row property of the picker, and I need to change the name of this to match up with the name I gave the outlet, which was just picker, not single picker, like we did in the other example. So I'll fix that. So this picker only has one component, and its components start numbering at 0. So we want the row number to be the selected row in the selected component. We'll use that to pick an element from the array, and then we'll make the string for our alert. And that's all there. And then the stuff to throw up the alert here, which is exactly the same kind of code we've had in the past. The only things left to do are the data source and the delegate. Let me grab those methods and then I'll talk about them. So if you're going to implement the picker view delegate and picker view data source classes, actually those are something slightly different in Swift. I'll talk about them a little bit later. You've got to implement these methods: number of components and a function called picker view that has two prototypes. One will return the number of characters in that component, and the other one will return the string. If you tell it a picker view and which row you want to display, it's going to return the appropriate data. So this is what pulls out the right thing to display as you scroll through the picker view. So you don't ever call this method. It's called as by the built-in code that puts the picker view up as you scroll through the picker view. So how many components are there? How many rows are there as a function of the component number? And then given a component, or given a row and component number, what is the value that should be displayed for that row and that component number, and how do you get it? So those are the things we need for our data source and delegate. Our error has gone away. Everything should be good. And let's run it. Okay, comes up in the date view. We'll go to our single picker, and we can see we can scroll through here, and our delegate method is running just fine. It's causing these rows to be displayed. When we click our button, which I should have changed the name to select, it tells us which one we selected. We'll make it go away. So everything's working great. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and implement the, actually I'm going to stop the video here, and we will, in the second video, and in the next video, which will be the fourth video, we will implement the double component picker, and that'll leave us the dependent double component picker and the custom picker. And I'll see you in the next video.